Hi, and welcome to another edition of Guitar Guru Mike's Guitar Secrets. This is volume 3, and this is the second part of the lesson where I explain the music theory behind the voicings I taught in the first part of this lesson. This is called Suspended Chord Voicings Part 2. Hey, thanks for joining me. Here we go. I want to go ahead and just start right up and start talking about each one of these chords. The first one I want to talk about is the G version. And by the way, if you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend that first before you start this lesson. Okay, so you know, just a real quick overview. These are the voicings where we have your third finger on the second string third fret producing a D, the pinky on the first string third fret producing a G. That remains throughout all of these chord changes, and we're changing a chord underneath that. Okay, the first one we look at is G. This is a regular G major. It's not the preferred fingering for G major, but it is a legitimate G major. There's not a whole lot to say. It's just a regular triad. G, B, and D are the notes. And on the guitar, that would be G, B, D, G, D, and G. So you can see that's just a different combination of the same 3 notes, sometimes repeated twice or more. Okay. The next one I want to talk about is the E minor 7. Again, these 2 fingers plus the basic E minor down here. This is an E minor 7. Some people play the E minor 7 with 1 finger on the 5th string 2nd fret. But a lot of people prefer this voicing. It's used in a popular song, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. This is one of the voicings they use. Okay, not a whole lot to say about this one. It contains E, G, B, and D. Here's E, B, E again, G, D, and G. Okay, producing an E minor 7. Okay, the next chord I'd like to talk about is D, which ends up being a D Sus4, again holding these 2 in place and doing a D with the rest of the notes. A D Sus4. Sus4s are interesting chords. I like to talk about those. The technical rule on a Sus4 is this: the 4th replaces the 3rd. So in a Sus chord, a Sus2 or a Sus4, in this case a Sus4, you cannot have a 3rd in this chord. Otherwise, it's an 11th chord. The next one I want to talk about is a C add 9. This is an area I like to speak about because a lot of people call this a C2 chord. I hate to burst your bubble, but that is so incorrect. A C2 chord technically is C and D played together. Or you could play it like this. Okay? C2 would imply just C and D. Like a C5 chord implies C and G without a 3rd. So the proper name for this chord is C add 9, because add 9 supposes that you have a C major chord, C, E, and G underneath, and you've added the 9th above that without a 7th. That's important because a C9, a C major 9, or a C minor 9 all have a 7th in them, but a C add 9 has no 7th in it. The next chord that I would like to talk about is an A minor 7 Sus4. Now you're wondering why I'm calling it a Sus4 and not an A minor 11. I have my reasons. They're somewhat valid, but they're not absolutely solid. Okay, this could be considered to be an A minor 11, but I think that since the 3rd is excluded from this chord, I think that it's in fact replaced by the 4th. Then in fact this would be considered to be an A minor 7 Sus4 with the exclusion of the 3rd. Okay, the notes in this one: A, E, G, D, and G. Okay, A minor 7 Sus4. And now we come to the final chord, the F version of that, which is again these 2 fingers with basically an F here, as much as we can get. That right there. Now this is actually an F6-9 chord. This is sort of a difficult chord to identify because it lacks a 5th. It's just an F and an A, which is a 1 and a 3 of the F major chord, with the D and the G added. potentially we could turn these notes all around and create some other chord with these notes. But the truth is that since the F is on the bass and then the third is right next to that, it's got a real strong feeling of F major. So in fact, we would consider these other notes just to be additions of the 6th and an addition of the 9th. This is basically an F6/9 chord. Okay? And it's a lovely chord. I want to run through those chords one more time. G major, E minor 7, D sus4, C add 9, not C2, A minor 7 sus4, not A minor 11, and F6/9. Okay? Thanks for keeping up with that. If you have questions, which I'm sure you do, come see me at my website, guitargurumike.com. Hit contact at the top of the page and we can get a video lesson. I love to teach music theory as it applies to the guitar, so I'm so happy to work with you if you want to work with me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time with Volume 4. Thank you.